Good morning and welcome to Toro for Women's Mountain Moments. This is our prepper portions and I am Judith Garten. I wanted to take a few minutes today to talk to you about 25-year shelf life food storage. You know, something I've been watching as all of these emergency directives come out from the various states throughout our nation here in the United States and also throughout the world, I keep seeing one particular claim that pretty much goes everywhere. There are blogs, videos, podcasts, radio shows, and even advertisements proclaiming how easy it is for you to store dry foods for up to 25 years. Now, you're going to see the talk from all kinds of companies and products who state this openly, that you can store foods for 25 years. We even have one link on our own website to an affiliate program that we enjoy for freeze-dried foods that make this statement also. But the question I want to ask you today, and you need to ask yourself, is not can you store dry foods for that long, but should you store foods for that long? Because the simple answer to the first question is yes, you can, and rather may be able to store large quantities of some particular dry foods for up to 25 years in your dark basement, root cellar, closet, hidden away from the world under controlled circumstances. Yes, you can store food for 25 years. You see, certain foods, when stored correctly, are very much shelf stable for as long as 25 years. Many people claim that even grains of wheat have been discovered in Egypt dating back 4,000 years, and that they've been tested for nutritional value and actually sprouted. They've determined them to still be edible even after that length of time. I used to have some wheat kernels of my own in buckets that came from a company touting the fact that they could be stored for up to 50 years. So you see, there are dry foods that can be stored for long term. But you notice the words that I keep saying are can, may, and could. And these are the key. The first thing to know right here and now is that these claims are made based on the fact that your food storage will be stored under optimal conditions. So what are optimal conditions? Well, first of all, you need to make sure you have the proper containers. We'll be discussing that over a couple of videos coming up. Second, you want to make sure that they're hermetically sealed. Again, we'll be discussing that in future videos. But what I want to talk about today is temperature. You see, according to the Utah State University, the optimal temperature for storing many foods for long-term storage is between 40 and 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Over the years, I've seen variances on this going as high as 50 degrees on the low end and 70 degrees on the high end, but because this is the current standard, we're going to stick with this standard. On their website, Utah State University states the United States Department of Agriculture, the USDA, states that for every 10.8 degrees in temperature rise, you decrease the shelf life of your stored food by half. So imagine that. You think you're storing it for 25 years, but if it's 10 degrees above 60, or 10.8 degrees above 60, you decrease that by 50%, meaning 12.5 years. Now, I will bring up here that they do not mention specifically how long the temperature must remain 10.8 degrees or higher to decrease that shelf life. So that is something that you have to keep in mind, though, as you go through storing your food and keeping an eye on what length of time you're storing for. Now, I will include the links to my currently top links, my 3 top resources that I use for food storage information, and I use them because they keep things up to date constantly, very consistently. Those will be down below in the links in the comments. Now, from personal experience, we have seen how easily it is for high temperatures to decrease the storage time or even destroy the dry goods you've stored. It can happen so quickly without your knowledge, especially if temperatures rise extremely high. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, that doesn't happen, but it can. Many people do consider the temperatures when storing, and they try to make certain that their location stays within this range, but I have some experiences and some ideas I want to bring up to you. In many homes, for example, that location is within the walls of the living structure, and this can be an issue, especially in America. You see, here in America, we are so comfortable, we're so spoiled, We're so used to central air conditioning and heating in our homes. We believe that our environment is temperature controlled. But what happens without power in the summertime? There have been a number of power outages this year for various reasons. Temperatures in the home can go up in no time at all, even with your windows open and fans running. In recent years, we've seen issues throughout the country with rolling brownouts as corporations, are trying to control the electric systems. There are brownouts in cities and states out west right now, especially in California. Some of those have even caused or led to wildfire issues. Right now, the wildfires themselves are causing power outages. Remember, this is September 2020 we're talking here. These issues are currently causing problems where even states and cities are recommending their citizens turn off their air conditioning units and don't open windows because you don't want to allow the ash and smoke into your home. When this happens, when you turn off the air conditioning units and lock your house down, even if you open your windows, the temperature within your home can rise dramatically. And it can do it in a short period of time. Arizona is a perfect example of this year. Many typical daily temperatures have been well above 100 degrees Fahrenheit. This will increase your interior temperature even with fans blowing if you have power or if you have windows open. Now, what happens if you live in an area of the U.S. where these brownouts and blackouts happen frequently? This is going to be a constant problem you'll be dealing with. What if you're storing your dry goods out in an outbuilding on your property and the temperatures rise? And we have known people throughout the years who have actually stored their products in outbuildings such as barns, garages, sheds. How about if you store it in a room in your home that doesn't quite have the same good cooling as the rest of the house? We have 2 rooms in our home that are not quite as cool as the rest of the house, no matter how well and how efficient our air conditioning unit operates. Now, this isn't just dry foods either. You need to make sure you watch your temperature for your canned foods as well. That can be even worse as far as disaster goes. There have been times where I have, on rare occasions, seen a canned good heat up enough that it has exploded. So you have to watch for these temperatures. Now, I mentioned our personal experience. Well, that happened to us when we moved to West Virginia a few years ago. We packed up all of our house in New Jersey and we moved all of our stuff here. Now, we had a lot of food storage items that were longer term products, and we put those in the large shipping crates thinking it's no problem, a few days we'll be unloading. Not true. You see, settlement doesn't always go as planned when you're buying a home, and we ended up, our items were stored in those crates outdoors in the sun at the end of June for several weeks, and the temperatures inside the containers reached well above 150 degrees. When we finally opened the containers, I had to go through just about everything individually and check them and make sure everything was good, nothing had gone rancid. But sadly, there were several items that had spoiled. For example, the white rice, the brown rice, and the pasta, many of them had all gone bad. And you could smell the rancid smell from the products. So you kind of expect this from the brown rice. Brown rice does not have as long a shelf life for food storage as does white rice. White rice tends to store longer. So you expect that from the brown rice, but I didn't expect it, honestly, from the white rice. And the pasta, goodness, they store it for years and years on shelves in grocery stores sometimes and in warehouses. Doesn't seem to be an issue. Sure was for us. Now, heat is just one of the environmental examples and influences that you have to watch for your food storage. The other end of the spectrum is also dangerous as well, freezing. Freezing can compromise cans and jar seals. It can also compromise the seals on some of the buckets, depending on what is stored inside. Jars can rupture as they freeze and even affect the storage life of dry goods. This last one is especially true if these temperatures change up and down consistently and cause condensation within the container, especially in jars. Jars can have that issue. Now, you believe that your stored foods are completely dry when you put them into your jars, but there is, in certain foods, there are moisture levels. And those moisture levels can cause condensation if your temperatures fluctuate dramatically. If that moisture is in there and the condensation happens, it will ruin your food. It can cause problems with mold. It can cause problems with spoilage. And these are things that you have to watch out for. I've actually had this happen where the moisture content was slightly higher in a bucket of wheat that was professionally sealed from a corporation I bought it from. And when I opened it, you could smell the rancid moisture smell and the mildewy smell within the wheat. That had happened because I had stored it in a cold basement, and then the temperatures had risen upstairs in the house, and I kept bringing the bucket, believe it or not, back and forth because I wasn't using it as frequently as I thought. So these things can happen, and you can smell the stench. Now, all of this must be taken into consideration when you are thinking of putting up your dry goods, especially if you want to consider longer term storage. Remember, only 10.8 degrees higher decreases your storage time by half. You know, as well as I do, that is something that has to be watched. Now, I want to bring up another point. In your own home, during the summer months, you have the air conditioner running, but what is your temperature set at? Because our temperature in our home, on our thermostat, is set around 70 to 72 degrees. We're already at 70 degrees, 10 degrees above the standard of 40 to 60 degrees for storage temperatures in Fahrenheit. This is already a point of compromise for long-term food storage. Now, we keep our thermostat a bit lower than many folks do. There are a lot of people who keep it higher, 72 to 75. And according to the U.S. Department of Energy, reported by CNN, and I quote, "The U.S. Department of Energy also encourages homeowners to keep their thermostats at 78 degrees when they're home." So now you're talking about being 18 degrees above. You could have decreased your storage life of your 25-year food storage down to about 8 years, roughly. If you're keeping your food storage in your closet or storeroom in your home because it's the only place you have, like us, then you have to monitor these storage times. Now, I hope this is all making sense so far. This is why I initially said, going back to the original question, can you store foods for 25 plus or minus years? Yes, you may be able to store dry foods under optimal conditions for that length of time, but the real question has to be, should you? And I would have to say emphatically, no, you shouldn't. You should not try to store dry foods for that many years at a time. You should try and store them for only a few years at a time. Optimal conditions is just one of the many reasons that I prefer to rotate, rotate, rotate. Teach your family to eat these products now. Whenever I talk to people about this topic, about 25-year food, I always recommend people don't plan on storing the food for 25 years. Plan on keeping it rotating. Store the foods, remember, that your family will eat, but do everything you can now, while you can, to transition them into a food lifestyle that's healthier and easier to fit into the food storage lifestyle. I hope this has helped, and I hope you have a greater understanding of long-term food storage and should you or can you. I also hope that you will check out our links below. We have www.torahforwomen.com. You can find me there through the contact form. You can also contact me through the YouTube channel. I would like to invite you to check out the resources I'm leaving below. It is important that you stay up on those resources so that you are doing what is best for your family at all times. Thanks for stopping in. Shalom.